Picture this, 200 people in the room, and the seminar leader looks right at me in front of everybody, and he says, "Clinton, you're dead inside." And I was just like, ugh, it was like a stake to my heart. But he was absolutely right. Like, I was embarrassed, I was in shock, but he hit me right here. Like, I knew that I was dead inside because, in 2008, I lost my business, I lost 2 properties, I lost my credit score, and this is like right after getting engaged, right?
All right, well, welcome back to the Rock Your Give podcast, where we operate at the intersection between business, personal growth, and creativity. And today I have a real special guest. His name is Clinton Young. He's an international keynote speaker and a sales communication coach. This guy gets paid to speak. I've known him for many years. He's a powerhouse on the mic and somebody who's here to inspire you to live your best life. How's it going, Clinton?
It's going outstanding, Sean. So great to be here, man.
Yeah, so great to finally get a chance to dive into what you do in a deeper way. So
Totally.
I would love to hear and just share, give us a little background on your story, kind of what you do, and maybe just what got you into this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always been someone who followed my intuition, right? And even as a little kid, before I ever even knew what intuition was, I would just feel something and I just knew that it was the right thing to do and I would take action. And it all seemed to work out, and a lot of times even better than I originally thought it would.
Nice.
And then in 2008, I don't know if you remember our friend 2008, it was similar to 2020, right? Financial collapse. I was in real estate at the time, and I got annihilated financially. Okay, I know a lot of people that are listening or watching probably had a similar experience in 08. Some people experienced it in 2020. And I find myself at a microphone, okay? And I am not delivering the speech at this time. It was 2010. I'm at the microphone. Picture this, 200 people in the room. And the seminar leader looks right at me in front of everybody. And he says, "Clinton, you're dead inside." And I was just like, ugh, it was like a stake to my heart. But he was absolutely right. Like, I was embarrassed, I was in shock, but he hit me right here. Like, I knew that I was dead inside because, in 2008, I lost my business, I lost 2 properties, I lost my credit score. And this is like right after getting engaged, right? It's like, welcome to the team, honey, right? Luckily, we're still married though. 17 years later or so. So anyways, at this seminar, I knew that I needed to do something. I knew that I needed to reignite my human spirit. You know that pilot light under a stove, under a gas stove? That pilot light for me was almost out. It was flickering at best. And I went through some dark times. But it was through this journey after that experience that I recognized and identified these habits. Perhaps we'll talk about them later. They're called black sheep habits that I started to do. One of them is taking walks in nature, right, and contemplating. And one day I'm walking in nature, and Sean, it hit me like a Harry Potter thunderbolt right between the eyes. And it was that I thought my intuition failed me, right? I was broken during this time. I was broken. And my confidence was shattered. And it was because I thought my intuition failed me. It's like, how could my intuition let me make those decisions and buy those properties for all the wrong reasons? And I didn't do the work, right? And I realized in that moment, as I was taking that walk, that it wasn't my intuition that failed me. It was me who failed my intuition, right? I did not listen to that voice. I remembered explicitly back to when I was buying those properties, my intuition saying, "Clinton, don't do it. Clinton, do more due diligence. Don't do it. You're rushing it. You're doing it for the wrong reasons." And I did it anyways. So not following my own intuition really shook me for a long time. And even once I realized that it was me that made the mistake, like, it took me a long time to rebuild that muscle and rebuild that trust with myself. But in that journey, I started speaking more and more. And it was really just out of a desire to follow my flow, right? We all have this unique flow that thing that you do when time flies by, and you know, you add the most value because you're actually like flowing with the current. And so I would start speaking, and I realized in that process, it was like my purpose was revealed to me. And that is to reignite the human spirit, right? To not only reignite my human spirit, but to reignite the human spirit. And that's when I became a professional speaker.
Wow. Yeah. That's dope. One of the things that I imagine people are thinking, and I always think about, is like, people want to speak. Like, that's not a hard thing to think. Like, not everybody, but so many people want to speak. But to actually get out there and start speaking and doing it, like, I would love to know, how did that happen? Like, it doesn't just happen, right?
Yeah. You know, again, you and I are both students of humanity. We're students of ourselves, of personal growth and development. I'm sure a lot of your listeners and viewers are as well. And like, I've always been one to say, I want to find the easiest, fastest path to the cash, and not to sound cold, but like a lot of times we are money motivated. We all need to make money. So I want to know, what's the fastest path, right?
Yeah.
Not what's the it's got to be ethical. It's got to be all the things, right? But what's the fastest path? Like, what's the least amount of friction? Why would I go the friction route when I can go the frictionless route?
Right.
I'm all about hard work. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not about hustle. It's about flow. I hate it when, and I'm sorry, maybe you guys talk about hustle. I'm not sure. I need to watch more of your episodes, but like, a lot of people like celebrate the hustle.
Right.
And I'm like, that's brain damage. Why are you celebrating the hustle? I don't mean don't work hard, put in the work. You got to take action, but find your fastest path in your path of least resistance. Find your flow, right? So many people out there, you know, they say, I want to find my purpose. I want to find my purpose. I'm like, stop looking for your purpose. Look for the thing that puts you in your flow, where you can add the most value to the marketplace. I believe we all have the same purpose. And that is to find our path where we can add the most value and the most value to others, but inside of our greatest gift, right? What is our greatest gift? Rock your gift, right? What is our greatest gift? Find that, right? So that's all the setup to actually answer your question. So I always gravitated towards roles and towards opportunities. This was even before I was conscious of personal growth and development. I just always naturally gravitated towards those roles that would utilize my strengths, that would shine the light on my strengths. I'm a huge believer in, don't work on your weaknesses, outsource your weaknesses. You obviously, if it's causing a problem in your marriage, your relationships, your business, you got to solve it, right? For yourself. But at the end of the day, I don't like spending a lot of time getting better at things that aren't naturally things that I'm going to be good at. I'd rather go to the things that I already have a gift around and pour my money, my energy, my money, my time into that, and make that the best, brightest part of myself. So that's always been speaking. It's always been sales, right? It's always been sales. But one of the best ways to sell, what's one of the best ways to sell, is put one of these in front of you, right? When you have the microphone, he or she with the microphone always has the most opportunity to have the greatest influence, right? So I always gravitated towards speaking. I always gravitated towards sales. And in this role that I had for a large education company, I've spent a lot of time in the high ticket education space. And it was a real estate education company. And I was their head of recruiting. So I hired like 200 people in 18 months. It was bananas. Helped this company go from high 8 figures to high 9 figures. And in that process, I was like, okay, if I'm going to be the head of recruiting, I could do that many different ways. If my personality was behind the computer looking at spreadsheets, I might do it a certain way. But my personality is not that. So what did I naturally gravitate towards? I want to go to colleges and I want to speak and talk about jobs. I want to talk about career readiness. I want to talk about landing your dream job. So I crafted my first ever keynote speech, Sean. It was called Living Courageously to Land Your Dream Career. And I went out and I rocked that thing at San Diego, UCSD, University of California, San Diego. And that was the beginning of my speaking career. Now, it wasn't the first time I ever got on stage. I had spent probably 1,000 hours on stages, probably 10,000 hours on stages prior to that, in various company positions that I've had. I was in direct sales prior to that as well, before the crash. So I'd been on a lot of stages, but this was the first time I actually crafted a keynote speech and went out and delivered it.
That's dope. Wow.
I don't know that I answered your question.
Well,
but
I mean, you opened up all kinds of things that I have questions about, but I want to know, like, you set your sights on getting yourself out there doing the college circuit. Was that something that you had some mentor had shown you how to do, or like how do you get that opportunity?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, in that role, it was just the natural place to go and speak to attract people that were looking for a job. Because I'm the head of recruiting.
Who did you talk to? Who did you call?
So in that scenario, I reached out to some of the local clubs at these colleges. And I ended up speaking for the Future Business Leaders of America, which are students that are entrepreneurial minded, right? And they want to learn about what is it like to actually have a business. So I went and I spoke for that community, and I spoke at a number of different communities like that. I've spoken in the UK to colleges, but it was just finding a connection to where I was in that moment. I didn't seek out colleges. I just happened to be in a role where it made sense for me to go and deliver value at a college. After that, I ended up setting my sights more on the entrepreneurial community. I work a lot with 100% commission-based salespeople, realtors, loan officers, entrepreneurs, founder-led businesses. That's who I work with now.
That's cool. So you stepped into this whole speaking thing, and what was it about speaking that really spoke to you?
Yeah, you know what it was? It made me come alive.
Yeah.
Right. It made me come alive.
That was kind of the antithesis to that moment that you shared earlier. It was like the thing that brought you back to life from
yeah. You know, there's certain things we do that just give us life, right? So many people are looking for ways that they can change the world. Like you and I, we attract a lot of conscious entrepreneurs, right? And I would argue that we're conscious entrepreneurs as well. We want to not only make good money, but we want to make a great impact in the world and in the world of our clients. And so I always say, though, if you're trying to like change the world, stop. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive, but instead go and find what makes you come alive and go do that, because what the world actually needs is people who've come alive.
Yeah.
That's what the world needs. People who have come alive.
Yeah.
Right. So when I speak, dude, it's my healthy obsession, man.
Right.
I'm the guy that when I go to a hotel and I'm at an event, I'll wake up at 6:30 in the morning, find my way into that auditorium or that gala room or ballroom, and I will speak to 500 chairs and deliver my keynote with like reckless abandon on stage, practicing, getting the reps, because it's my healthy obsession. It makes me feel alive.
Nice. Wow. I love that. So when you talk about kind of igniting people and tell us about like that purpose, that passion, you've talked about the fact that your light was out. Maybe you could share more about why, or what was the essence of that? But like, where is this like really the fire for you around like the message that you're here to share for people?
So it's the pain that I went through. Right. I find that, especially speakers, but even entrepreneurs who have a different type of solution that maybe isn't a speech, we often speak to the person we once were.
Right.
We often solve problems for the people we once were. Right. So I experienced a lot of pain and a lot of suffering and a lot of very, very dark days in 2008 through 2010 and even beyond.
That was what it was. It was because of 2008 was where the light had.
Yeah, dude. Started. I mean, I lost everything,
right,
including my confidence. My mojo was gone, bro, like gone.
Yes.
And I had to find a way to reignite that little pilot light, and then find a way to grow that light and grow that light and grow that light, right? And in that process, I discovered my purpose is to help other people do the same thing.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, what do you say to somebody who, you know, they're in that spot right now, right? They're in this dark night of the soul. They've been in it for a while. It feels like it's been going on for so long. There's no way out, or it's just they can't find their way through. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are in that space after, you know, the pandemic was it rocked the world, right? It really I think a lot of people say it caused an epidemic in mental health.
Yeah.
I think it definitely did cause a lot, but it also exposed a lot of
Yeah.
what was already there.
Totally.
Right. And it actually, one of the happy benefits of it, especially in the speaking world, is it made it okay to talk about mental health.
Yes.
Like it actually made it less of a stigma and more of a thing that we all have some version of it, right? We've got to find solutions for it. So, come back to your question again, because I went off on a tangent
to
there.
me, it's about, okay, you got a person in front of you who's been going through it. Like, what are
the steps? What do they do?
Or what's the essence of like the transformation that you're helping them with?
Great question. So, a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of people don't even know what they want. Like they know they're meant for something bigger. They know they want to make 6 figures or maybe 7 figures or maybe 8 figures. They know they want to make a bigger difference in the world, but they don't know where to start. Right?
Yeah.
Some people don't even know what actually they want. Some people might know what they want, but they don't know how to get it.
Yeah.
Right? It's why they need people like you or myself or other people that can help them that have been there and done that. And some people know what, this is the one that breaks my heart because this is where I was. They know what they want. They even know how to get it, but they don't believe it's actually possible for them. Right. It's possible for other people, but it's not possible for me. Right. So I would say it's a process of getting really real. So my model, I've got several frameworks. One of my frameworks for success starts with awareness. You have to have awareness, right? Awareness is the basic building block of any change in life. Anything that you want, it starts with awareness. You have to deepen your level of awareness. So what does that mean? All right, well, what are my actual greatest strengths? Like if you're in a dark place, if you don't know what you want or you're not quite sure how to get it, get really clear about who you are, right? What is your baseline? What's your vision? What's your mission? What are your values? Like what do you actually value?
Right.
Because that's the steering wheel of your life. Totally. Like a lot of people don't even know what their values are. So I really challenge every listener and viewer to like really get curious about what drives your motivation. What drives your behavior? What's your personality type? Take personality assessments, right? I've got this amazing flow profile that I've used in the past. So there's so many ways to deepen that level of awareness. And then once you get clear on something that you want, start to participate in it with no attachment to how it's going to work out or are you going to make money from it. Just start to participate. In fact, one of the other things we can do, this is one of the black sheep habits, is to meditate, right? Quiet your mind. Quiet your mind and get still. And if people, just so we're on the same page, if any listener or viewer doesn't know what I'm talking about meditation, there's so many ways to meditate, right? You can just close your eyes and try to think of nothing and be prepared to have all the thoughts flood into your mind at that exact moment, right? Yeah. As soon as you're trying to not think about anything, you're going to think about everything. Just release those thoughts and just maybe focus on right here. And just do that for 8 minutes a day, or do that every morning. And you wait to see what actually happens, because what happens is your mind starts to settle down. It's almost like a muddy glass of water. It's like as soon as you meditate, the sediment lowers to the bottom and you can actually see clearly. So you can start to have some clarity and awareness around what you actually want. So that's step 1 is awareness. Yeah. Step 2 is really committing to growth. Really knowing that, like, if you want to live an extraordinary life, if you want to live your dream life now, you have to actually commit to growth. You have to commit to that process. Yeah. And then you have to take inspired action. Like nothing just happens by you just sitting there meditating or praying. I'm a huge advocate of both of those things. But you have to actually take action, right? And I have a magical success formula. We may get to that, we may not. That I can walk through a little bit more detail. But ultimately, those are some of the steps I would do right out of the gate. Is get really aware of who you are and what drives your behavior and where do you actually want to go, right?
Yeah.
Commit to growth and then take action.
Yeah. I think that one of the challenges is that we get into these spirals where you're sort of like pulled in by certain behavior pattern, certain thinking pattern, and you're kind of trapped in it. But usually people have a reference of when they weren't in that, like a version of them that was in a positive spiral. Yes. And the habits they were doing in that, right? Yes. And so like that's what came to me when you were talking about, you know, first become aware of like what you want and like what drives you. And then it's about being able to, was the second one was
commit to growth,
committing to growth, right? So now it's like being able to say, okay, I need to do things differently, right? I'm going to, from this day forward, I think that's, we just crossed over to 2026. And so there's a lot of that, like setting goals and setting the, your resolutions and so forth. And so people are right now at this time, kind of coming out of that like time of like making decisions about change, but like doesn't need to be obviously the end of the year. At any point we can make a decision that like we're going to cut this cord of like this spiral, and we're going to actually choose today to do something new. And that's why I like when you talk about commitment, because it's like it requires that a part of you comes out and says, I am more disciplined. I'm saying no to this way of thinking or these habits, right? Whether it's drinking too much, or maybe it's not exercising and not doing a morning ritual or whatever, starting to do meditation. So, right. So in doing those things, and then the spiral starts turning, and then that shift starts opening up. Right. And so I think that's what I'm picking up from what you're saying is like, there's this decision to like do something different.
Yes.
And that once you start following that, it has its own life. It pulls you towards it. And that's what it sounds like when you were going through that place where the pilot light was out, and then you started to like find your way back and listen for, okay, I light up when I'm on the mic. Like I want to share my message or whatever was coming up for you. You started taking committed action towards new things that you wanted, and it grew in momentum, right?
Yes. And we've got to follow the tingles, that tingly feeling you get. A lot of times I get it when I see musicians or I see you rocking the mic and I see someone in their flow, like that's sexy, that's attractive. You know why? Because we as spiritual beings living this human experience, that's how we're designed. We're supposed to be in our flow, right? That's our natural state, but so few of us are in that state. That's why when we see that happen, it gives us the tingles sometime. And I always say, follow the tingles, baby. Follow the tingles. And you talk about a spiral. I want to share something about a spiral. Right? I talk a lot about limiting beliefs because that is the thing that stops us, right? We can be, do, and have anything that we want in this world. Our moms were right when they said that to us when we were little kids, right? We can be, do, and have anything and everything. The only thing that stops us is our brain. It's our mind, right? So this is a little thing on limiting beliefs, all right? We have these beliefs. And these beliefs, whether they're limiting or not, they're going to produce thoughts. Right? They're going to produce consistent thoughts, and all a belief is a consistent thought said over and over and over again, right? So your beliefs create your thoughts, and that creates your language. Life happens in language. We create our lives in language, and a lot of times a little eddy current happens with language, thoughts, language, thoughts, language, thoughts, and we get stuck in this little spiral. But if you keep going around the circle, right, we've got beliefs, produce our thoughts, produce our language, that produces our feelings, right? A lot of times we resist our feelings, but our feelings are the magical elixir of flow, right? We've got to really harness our feelings, and how we feel in any given moment is going to dictate our actions, right? You wake up and you feel like crap in the morning, you going to the gym? Probably not, unless you have massive willpower and you have a way to break that cycle. But left to its own device, how you feel dictates your actions, which is the next step in the circle. And the actions that you take or don't take produce your results. And that ultimately reinforces that belief that you have. Whether it's a limiting belief, you'll continue to spiral down, right? If it's a limiting belief and you keep going through your beliefs, your thoughts, your language, your feelings, your actions, your results, it's going to reinforce that belief and spiral you down. But if you have, like you said, you get fixated on what you want and you get inspired, and maybe we'll dive into the magical success formula here, because it starts with inspiration, right? And you get inspired and you start to have those inspiring beliefs, right? And then those inspiring thoughts and language, and all of a sudden you're going to feel good. You're going to take positive actions, and then you're going to reinforce those positive beliefs, and now you're spiraling up. Right? You're in control of your spiral, baby.
I love
You got to be in control of it.
That's the essence, right? Like that's what, if you are going through something, or, in the next time you're going through something, just remember, like, you're in your own self-created, starting from your thoughts, and you're starting from your beliefs and then your thoughts into your actions and your feelings. It all can be turned around by that shifting of thinking and staying in it till the spiral takes hold, because it has a momentum of itself that once you start to build, it carries you. And so I love that. Now I do want to get into the magic formula, but what I want to do first is I want to ask you about something you said earlier, which is right at the beginning. You were talking about your intuition and like following it and then like not listening to it. I think that's a really big thing for me, is about really like knowing when like I definitely have strong intuitive sense, like especially when it comes to coaching. Like there's just this like when I'm talking to a client and it's just there's a certain vibe there. There's just this pow, right? Like I know it's beyond the mind. It's kind of like freestyling. It's beyond the mind, right?
Just thinking of that.
It's faster than my thinking ability, right? But I also sometimes feel like when it comes to decisions, like I should invest in this or whatever, like that, there's a lot of uncertainty for me around like that, like knowing if I can trust myself to make that decision. I'm wondering like where you're at with that and how you think about that and how you trust your decisions.
Yeah, wow. This is a huge question. And it's funny because my wife and I think very differently. So we have to have space for that we're all different. And some of us, based on our personality, will move a lot faster, think a lot faster, process information. Like my wife processes information like an AI supercomputer. I'm more like slow, deliberate. I'm more grounded. She's more head in the clouds. She's super creative. A lot of creatives. I know you attract a lot of creatives. A lot of times you're head in the clouds. You got a lot of ideas. You love to start things. Don't always love to finish things. Like this is a common type. This is a personality type I'm explaining. And then I'm more on the ground, where I'm more grounded around implementation, harmony. I can kind of like sense the market and sense things, but I'm slower, right? I'm slower in my thinking. So we have to have some space for that. I want to say that right out of the gate. I generally almost always have an intuition. Like if my wife wants to invest 20 grand in a business or a coaching or whatever, something to forward her business, I almost always know the right answer right out of the gate. And it's through my gut. I can just feel it. I can sense it. But I can't articulate it yet. And it frustrates the heck out of my wife because she's more like ready, fire, aim, which is good as an entrepreneur. You got to make a lot of decisions fast. It's not great to take a long time to make decisions in business or in real estate. Like you've got to make decisions. But at the same time, I feel like there's space for slowing down, tapping in, and really feeling like what is the right feeling. So I don't have the exact answer for you because everybody's different. But I would say that it's got to be a healthy combination of knowing that done is better than perfect, especially in entrepreneurship. Getting something out there is more important because you can, as long as you have a commitment to make it better. I don't mean put out crap. I mean like get it out there, because your first iteration, it's always going to grow and evolve as long as you're committed to providing value to your clients. But get it out there, because if you don't, you're never going to get it out there. So get it out there. That's going to give you feedback so that you can make it better. Right. But you've got to listen to what does your heart say? What does your gut say? Go meditate, go contemplate, right? And try to make a combined choice.
Like there's this, for me, there's this idea that, well, first I'll say there's this concept that I've been taught where in terms of making decisions, you want to go with what feels expansive versus contractive, right?
I like that.
Right. And like, it kind of helps you go, okay, if I feel like, tension or something, then I guess no, right? If I feel like expansion and like whatever, it's like yes energy versus no energy or whatever. But I always, I'm kind of like your wife in that, like, I like get really excited about like opportunities and because of being a creative and like the shiny object thing, it's like, there's a lot of things that feel like hell yes energy to me, to me, it's like, okay, if I'm supposed to follow the expansion, it's like, I better be a billionaire because everything's like, I want this, I want that, but obviously that's not the right choice. So it's like, there's this interesting distinction I can't quite get underneath where it's like, what's real expansion energy versus like excitement or desire energy? I don't know if you have any insight on it.
Dude, this is a really good conversation. And you're right. This isn't something I think that anyone masters necessarily, but like our brains don't always know how to determine fear from danger. I'll just give you an example. I know you're talking about excitement, but you think about jumping out of a plane. You got someone attached to you that's done it a million times, right? And they know exactly what to do. You've gone through training. You're up in the plane, and you've got some fear, right? But are you in really any imminent danger? Probably not. You're probably more likely to get hit by a bus than you are to have anything happen jumping out of a plane, right? So you could experience danger, but the appropriate emotion is fear, right?
Yeah.
But and you're going to have a certain physiological response that's happening in your body. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit of a psychology geek. I've got my master's degree in organizational psychology, and I've been geeking out on neuroscience and the human condition for like the last 20 years. So I get a little psychological from time to time. So what's happening is in your body is these chemicals are firing off cortisol, right? You're in the fight or flight response. You're fearful. It's a healthy fear.
Yeah.
But let's say you're walking down a path in Montana and you come across a grizzly bear like my wife and I did a few years ago. We were in an RV tour around the country, and all of a sudden you're like in you're in danger. Like that's danger.
Yeah.
You might experience fear too, but you're in danger. That's a very clear distinction from fear and excitement of jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
But your body's going to produce the same exact chemicals that it produces when you're ready to jump out of the plane as it does when you're up against this grizzly bear, right? How do you determine the difference? The problem is a lot of us go through life unconsciously, and these thoughts, these patterns get filed away in our subconscious, but they get filed away in the wrong spot. So a lot of times something will happen and our brain will automatically say that's danger. But that's just because from a past trauma that filed it away, made meaning out of whatever happened, but it filed it away in the wrong spot. It filed it under danger instead of fear. So this is a lifelong journey of self-discovery. And this is why I said you've got to commit to your growth and have the courage, that's my word, baby, the courage to expand and really like look at what is the truth. Because it takes some dissecting to really know, like, all right, that's really danger and that's just fear. Or that's just excitement because I get excited about everything. And this is pull energy. This is something that I know, I can feel it in my bones that I am meant to do that. Now, even though we're meant to do something, it doesn't mean we're meant to do it right now. Right. So that's the other thing a lot of times with creatives, especially this creator personality type that I'm specifically talking about, is they don't always have a keen sense of timing, whereas that's actually a strength of somebody that's on the lower half of this personality assessment, where they have a more keen sense of timing, but they might miss opportunities because they don't have the courage to take action. Right. So it's a balance, baby. There's no like black and white answer to this question. You got to be a student of yourself and a student of the game.
I friggin' love that. That was really helpful. All right, let's dive into the magic formula.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
Okay, so the magic success formula. If anyone's taking notes, you should be taking notes with a white paper and blue ink, baby, to make it lock into your brain a little bit more. I was always taught that. I don't have the science behind that one, but a very, very wise multimillionaire.
What did you say?
White paper and blue ink.
Blue ink, okay.
And it's better than typing it out. There's something about that process that allows it to sink into your body and your brain and your soul. So the first step, there's 3 steps. First step of the magical success formula is inspiration. You've got to be inspired, right? We have to find things that light us up. What brings life to our life? What brings energy to us? What makes us feel good, right? What is our unique flow, right? So go out and find that thing, whatever that is. And you might not know, like, what am I passionate about? I'd be like, people are like, I don't know what my passion is. Well, then start with interest. Go do the thing that interests you. And be on alert for what might show up. Because when you're doing things that are in your flow, I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example. I know I'm jumping around here, but when I was in that 2008 debacle and I was in a really bad space mentally, I went and I volunteered to be a greeter at my spiritual center. Okay. That's not an income producing activity, right? But I knew that that's something that, like, I can do that. I'm a shaking hands, kiss babies kind of guy. That's something that gives me joy. It gives me energy. I'm good at it. Like, I make people feel good, right? So it's like, I went and did that, and there was no attachment to what that's going to bring to my life. I just wanted to give back. It's another thing. Find ways to give back. It's another way to get out of your funk. Go and give, right? But I knew doing that was going to raise my vibration, right? We're all vibrational beings. We don't have time to get into that whole conversation, but we all vibrate at a certain frequency, and we attract into our lives other people, places, and things, and opportunities and experiences that are vibrating at that same vibration. So I knew that when I go and I just greet at a spiritual center, it's going to raise my vibration, right? Do I consciously think that? Maybe you could consciously think that, but also it's just going to make me feel good. And I feel like we're all designed to feel good. Let's go do something that's going to make me feel good. So go and do that, right? do something that's your interest, and all of a sudden you bump into someone and they ask you what you do, and you're like, oh yeah, I do this, that, and this. Oh, well, I've got an event that you can come and speak at, right? It's like things happen serendipitously out of us being in our flow and raising our own vibration and being in service to others.
Right.
Remember I said earlier, all of our purposes are to find ways to be in service to others inside of our greatest gift, right? It's all overlapping now, the things I'm talking about. So inspiration, find that thing that lights you up with no attachment to if it's gonna produce money for you, right? So that's number one, be inspired. And then you have to get clear about what it is that you do actually want. Like what is the form around, like, do you want to become a coach? Do you want to just make more money in your job, become a leader in your company? Do you want to start a business, right? What do you want to do? Do you want to become a dad or a mom, or what's the thing that you have in your vision? You have to become clear. And I'm going to give everyone a gift at the end of my Black Sheep Habits. It's going to help them get clarity and momentum and create that synergy and momentum around what it is that they want. So won't go into that now. But you've got to, once you have inspiration, the step 2, it's a 2-part step. You have to have belief that what you see is possible for yourself. You have to have belief that it's possible. And you have to have faith that it's already done, baby. And I don't mean religious faith or even spiritual faith for that matter, although that'll help you. I just mean like this little kid confidence. Remember as little kids, you have kids, right? And they used to be little kids. Now they're growing up now, but you know that those kids, I remember seeing this kid at a park one time. The dude just stripped down and he's just flying, just like running around the park like an airplane, buck naked. But he's got like absolute full self-expression, right? Absolute full self-expression, like you on the microphone, absolute full self-expression, rocking your gift, doing your raps, right? And that is how we're all born, with this little kid confidence. And then something happens in our lives. It could be when we're a little kid. It could be a little bit later. This is how our brains develop, right? And we are meaning-making machines. We have to make meaning out of things because there's billions of bits of information that's coming at us at any given moment in life. And we need to delete, distort, and just make things make sense in our brain. And the way we do that is through patterns. I know I'm getting a little heavy here. I'm going to come out of psychology land here. But we make patterns and we file things away in our brain, like I said earlier. And we're like, oh, touching stove means hot. File that away. Stoves are dangerous. Don't touch that. I could make it mean something else, like I'm inept, or I'm not capable. If somebody yelled at me when I did that, I might file that away in a limiting belief called the world's not safe, right? These are very common limiting beliefs. I'm so stupid. That was one of mine, right? So we file these things away, but we misfile them, kind of like the fear and danger earlier. We misfile them, and this is the beginning of limiting beliefs, right? But little kid confidence, we don't have any of that stuff. That didn't happen yet. So we've got to discover that little kid confidence again in our lives and have absolute faith that it's already done. Like it's already done. Because our brains, like Napoleon Hill says, whatever the mind can conceive and believe can achieve, right? And I say that it would be a cruel joke on humanity if God or spirit or whatever y'all believe in would give you a vision of something in your mind, but didn't give you the actual ability to achieve it. That would be a cruel joke on humanity. So we all have that ability. We can have anything. The only thing that stops us is our brain, is our mindset. Because our mindset's going to shift our behaviors and it's going to stop us from taking action. So we have to have inspiration. We have to have belief that it's possible, what it is that we want, and we have to have faith that it's already done. It's that little kid confidence, that unwavering faith. It's like it's almost like a naivete.
Is believe in faith still number 2?
Still number 2.
Gotcha.
Belief in faith is a 2-part number 2. And then we have to. It's imperative that we be in inspired action. If we're not taking action, if we're not out there shaking hands, kissing babies, doing whatever we do, our version of shaking hands, kissing babies, sharing the gospel, sharing our message. And I don't mean the gospel like church stuff. I mean, our gospel, whatever we're passionate about, right? I've got this discovery process. Don't have time to go into it today, but ultimately this discovery process where you can activate this magical success formula, because what starts to happen when you have inspiration, you have belief that it's possible, and you have faith that it's already done, and you get an inspired action going out and you're sharing. W. Clement Stone says, share what it is that you want with enough people, and someone's going to show up to help you achieve it. Someone's going to show up to help you achieve it. That's where magic and absolute miracles happen in your life, because these serendipitous things will show up in your life when you stand in the face of absolutely no agreement that this is like, because as soon as you say that you want something, everything's going to show up. You start taking action, things are going to show up that's not that. And that's your test.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're not supposed to do it. That's called humanity. That's how it works. But you need to stand in the face of that no agreement for long enough until something shows up. And something is going to show up when you keep sharing what you're excited about. You keep being inspired. You keep being in service to others. You keep that belief and that faith, and you stay in motion, sharing your passion, sharing your vision. Someone's going to show up to help you achieve it. And that's where magic and miracles happen.
That's powerful. I hope you like this. And if you're getting value, make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you share, make sure that you comment. Tell a few friends about this podcast. Let people know, let them know. You got to check out the Rock Your Gift podcast, because Sean is interviewing some of the best thought leaders and experts in the world, and it'll change your life. So let the world know if you're getting value, and let us know in the comments. And we have a few more minutes. I want to dive into one more thing, and then I'd love for you to share how people can get to know you better, find you out there. Yeah. The thing I want to ask is saying you've been sort of dancing around, or you've said it in your own way, which is the question of what do you see as your genius zone? Obviously speaking is inside of there. Maybe it's communication. I don't know. But what is it for you that you think is the thing that you just do better than people in the world? You're one of the best at.
Breathe life into others. It's for me, dude, my gift is inspiring people. And it's a beautiful thing, because we often teach what we need to learn the most. This is a very common thing. So if y'all are out there and you're trying to build something for yourself, and you're trying to know what problem do I want to solve in the marketplace, think of yourself 5 years ago and the problems you had, and go and solve that problem, because a lot of people probably have that same problem. Right? We oftentimes solve the problem that we once had. So I had not a problem, but I had that challenge, right? And I had to reignite my human spirit, and I was in such pain around that. And I'd always been someone who I love music. I love watching you rap, and different musicians, friends that we have play, and famous musicians or famous sports stars that are in the flow. I love that's the juice of life, right? Yeah. I feel like emotions are my superpower, to answer your question. Really? I feel like emotions are my superpower. Wow. And that's why I studied emotional intelligence in grad school. I naturally gravitate towards what drives behavior, right? And what makes you feel good. I truly believe that we are meant to feel good. So find things that make you feel good, that are healthy, obviously, right? That are things that are going to be good for humanity and good for you and your family and your clients. But do the things that make you feel good. Why are you doing things that don't make you feel good? I'm not trying to create a Pollyanna, everything's going to be sunshine and roses, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? You're going to have things that you don't want to do. But for the most part, try to get that 60 to 80% of your time doing something that really makes you feel good. So my superpower is emotions, and finding ways to create experiences for others that give them confidence, that give them the courage to take action, the belief that they can actually do it. That's why I work a lot with loan officers, realtors, founder-led businesses, 100% sales commission people, that they want to use speaking to grow their business. But they're like, I speak, but I'm not very effective, and I'm super nervous, and I don't really know how to do it. By the way, I've been on thousands of stages, and I'm still nervous every single time. So that's the bad news. It doesn't go away, right? You're a performer. 100%. It doesn't go away. We just get more and more adept, and we develop mastery around harnessing that emotion, because all it is emotion, right? And we harness it into, instead of is my fly down? Am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to remember my lines? Into what is the collective pain in the room? I teach my speaker students this. What is the collective pain in that room that you can speak right to? Yeah. Speak to the heart and soul of that room and shift the concern from you to others. Yeah. Because that's when the magic happens. And that is where I believe ease comes into play, when we stop worrying about our needs and we start focusing on, how can I empower and embrace and help others? Yeah. Right? Yeah. How can I do that? That's when it gets easy and fun.
So good.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love this episode, man. So tell us how we can connect with you, where to find you, what you got, some gifts and things like
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Do your guests like gifts? Or
I imagine they like
okay.
gifts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I've got an amazing gift. It is my black sheep habits. I have 7 black sheep habits that I discovered over the years of rising through the ashes, right? And you know, in my business, I've been able to sell millions and millions and millions of dollars, you know, in the different roles that I've had. And it hasn't always been that way, right? And so I want to give those black sheep habits. These are things that you can literally implement today. And you can start to put a path in place. There's no strategy, just follow the steps. Just do these steps and it will give you clarity. It'll give you confidence. It'll give you courage, and it'll give you an action plan of things you can do every single day. Like I did them this morning, that can energize your life, that can start to create synergy, create opportunity, and create those magic and miracles, right? So I'm going to give that to everyone. All you need to do to get that is go to blacksheephabits.com, habits with an S on the end, blacksheephabits.com. That's the first thing. Now, I know that a lot of people think I am a professional speaker as well as a sales communication coach. A lot of people think that professional speakers are, you know, multi-gazillionaires and they've got thousands of paid speaking gigs lining their calendars, right? But the fact of the matter is that is not true. In fact, 99% of my paid speaking gigs, Sean, come by way of referral. So if any of your viewers, any of your listeners, if any of y'all out there have gotten value from anything I've said and you want to refer me to an organization, a company, a mastermind, a conference, right? Or you have one yourself and you want me to come and speak, definitely, I'd be honored and thrilled to earn your referral. I really would. So you can go to clintonyoung.com if you want to see me speak. And if you want to get connected, you can just reach out to me at clintonyoung.com.
That's perfect. Amazing. I'm glad you added that in. Well, guys, it has been a special one. I've really enjoyed getting the time to get to know you and really understanding, you know, who you are at the core and being able to see your genius zone in action. So thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
All right, guys, we will see you on the very next Rock Your Gift podcast. Until then, be good. Peace.